Hello everybody, I hope you're doing fine. First of all, just click share and subscribe on the button and we can get into the class, but do remember to click on the notifications too. So let's talk about nerves and the nervous system which controls and coordinates all our body. So what is the main feature of this? The main feature is that the nervous system is made of neurons. And that is the topic of today's class. Now, first of all, while looking at this picture, you can see at the bottom of the eye, as in the picture, there is some kind of optic nerves going down, some kind of nerves. And that is one example where we get input or the stimulus. And this is a picture of a neuron, and a picture on the right hand side where the arrow points is an stained slide of a neuron. Now this is also another graphical type of picture, one you can draw, and you can see many different regions, many different codes the nerves have connected, and through these impulses travel. We'll get to that later on. So there are different forms, and even looking at this picture, you can see it isn't just a single neuron. It is like this picture. There's a tons and tons and there are lots of neurons. Change. There we go. And looking at this picture, you can see that there are a lot of parts even in a single neuron. Some may be common and some may be entirely new to you. So let's get to that, what they are common and what they are not. First of all, the cell body, which is normal with any cell, right? We have seen cell body before. Then what about nucleus? You remember that too, right? Normally a cell have these kind of things, and the neuron is typically a cell itself, so they have these things. What is new here? There are things called axon, as the arrow points. Then dendrite, we really don't know what that is. Then myelin sheath, we haven't heard that. Then there are things like node of Ranvier, and there are things called the Schwann cell. Have you even heard of it? And there is also the axon terminal, which we'll get to a little bit more of the axonite and the axon synapse, those kind of things. We'll get to that later on. So as you can see, this is a typical picture which you will study on. There are a lot of things. And based on this picture, there are even more. Well, look at where the arrow points, where the circular arrow, that one. So there are even more things inside a single axon as they saw it. There is nucleus inside that Schwann cell. There is microfilament, microtubule acid. There are a lot of other things too. So we don't have to go too deep into it, but understand that there are common features and there are typical examples and parts that you have to study, and we'll go through those typical parts in this class. Now look at this eye. Through that we reach the cell, the neuron, and you can see the impulses are going there, right, through the electric current. And as in this picture, you can see there are even more parts, and this is a what do you call, artistic view, and there are a lot of things inside, right? And while looking at this picture, you might think, where do you even start? So that's the topic, we will get to it, and that is the topic of neuron. And neuron, or nerve cell as it is called, is the basic structural unit of the nervous system. It is a basic structure. So what is the specialty? Like all other cells, the neuron has a cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus, as we said before. And looking at this picture, you can see why that is. There are cell membrane and there is an extensions, those kind of things already exist. And that is the specialty of a neuron, and it is for impulses, stimuli, transmission. And now based on that, we can classify the neuron into different parts. The cytoplasm, nucleus, cell body, dendron, the picture, yeah. Dendrite, Schwann cell, axon, axonite, synaptic knob. These are all the things you can see, you saw in that picture. Let's enlarge it. There we go. So these are the things. So these kind of things already exist. So let's go for one by one. And let's start with the dendrite. At the branch of dendron, part receives impulses from adjacent neuron. It is a part that receives. and based on the picture you can see it's at the end, right? It receives this impulses, then it transmits into the dendron, the short filament from the cell body. It carries the impulses from the dendrite to the major cell body, as we saw before, from small ones to bigger ones to the cell. That's how it goes. So there's other things called Schwann cell, which encircles the axon, the long tube-like structure, and the yellow parts are the Schwann cells. We will get what their function later on. For now, that's enough. Then what else is there? Then we can say that axon, it is the longest filament of the cell, and it carries the impulses from the cell body to outside. So what happens? It reaches dendrite, dendron, the cell body, then the axon, and through the axon to the end, that is the axonite or the axon terminal. Here go with axonite. It is a branch of axon, carries impulses to the synaptic node. That means it is carrying the impulse to the end, the tip portion, that is the synaptic node. It is the tip of the axonite. It secretes neurotransmitter, which we will learn. These chemicals we will learn more later on, and that is the axon terminal, and this is the synaptic node. It's like a bulb, right? Small round region. And axons of most of the neurons are encircled by a myelin. This is called the myelin sheath. So it is having a covering, as we saw in the picture earlier. If you can see the blue long tube having, there were the arrow points. That is the myelin sheath. And this myelin sheath, it has its own functions, and it is made up of formed of the Schwann cell, and it provides nutrient, oxygen, accelerated impulses, there are a lot of other things, and it is also an insulator, and it protects the axon from external shocks. These are the main things of the myelin sheath, so it's quite important. There are a lot of functions there, so just go through that and just understand what we are talking about. And between the Schwann cell there are small gaps, as we saw earlier, and it is called the nodes of Ranvier. It's just that between two yellow bulbs there's a gap. That's it. You can see here between two Schwann cells there's node of Ranvier, a small gap. See, a small gap with the arrow points. That's it. It's just called and understood as the node of Ranvier. Just know that right now. In higher classes we learn what it is all about. And besides that, the myelin sheath in the brain and the spinal cord is formed of the specialized cells called oligodendrocytes, and it's shiny white color. Just know that. It's an extra point, just know that. So based on this, the part of the brain and the spinal cord where myelinated nerve cells are present in abundance, it is called the white matter, and the part where the non-myelinated nerve cells are present is called the gray matter. Based on the color and where it is found, it is differentiated into two parts, the myelin and non-myelin. If myelin is there, it is a white matter. If it's not there, it is a gray matter. Look at this picture, and you can see, even though I told a lot about lot things, there are even lot more, and you can find even more better ideas on the topic if you simply search for it. So I hope you understood about the basic points on the picture that we are given here. These are the main things you have to study right now: dendrite, cell body, nucleus, axon, myelin sheath, Schwann cell, node of Ranvier, axon terminal, and the synaptic knob, those kind of things. And just click, share and subscribe and put on the notification. It will help. So thanks. Bye.